It's review time, and because of Hockey Day in Canada starting early tomorrow, I've already got 2 boards of 3 done. This is going to be the third for the preview that I'm going to do tonight before I turn in for the night. And so that preview will be going up after this. Not too long after this, but it'll still be pretty late for people on the East Coast, as it's already, it's pretty late on the East Coast. But it's a Friday night, so I always feel better doing late videos when it's a Friday or Saturday night, because what better way is there to party than, well, there's that. Oh, definitely. Oh, that'd be way better. In space. Right. Okay, so that being said, let's go ahead and start things off with Toronto and Anaheim. This game absolutely describes Toronto's season over 64 minutes and 53 seconds. It absolutely describes their season. So Jack Campbell's making his debut. Kyle Clifford makes his as well. And we come out of tonight with Toronto still looking kind of like Toronto. Nylander was sick. So Nylander wasn't playing in this game, and they missed him. They missed him on the power play. That being said, their power play was still pretty good. Clifford was on line 3 to start. So we start the game up. Terry hits a crossbar early on. Tense moment there, because you're thinking, is Campbell going to allow a goal early here? Janssen would then score from Marner and Matthews at 4:36. That's in Nylander's spot. So Janssen quite happy to have a shot at a spot on that line, and it works for him. Miller then denied Hyman, but the shots were 7-2 Leafs at 9 minutes. They played very, very well. So what happens in a Leafs game when they're playing well and they're up in the shots? Delorier scores his first in what seems like forever from Fowler and Henrique at 10:36, and it's 1-1. Then there's a pair of penalties against the Ducks over 18 seconds, which means you have 1 minute and 42 seconds of 5-on-3 for the Leafs, which means they don't score. And Getzlaf defended very, very well on that one. And this is where I want to bring up Kevin Bieksa was down at ice level calling it. And Kevin Bieksa is an amazing analyst. Coming out of this game and watching that, I'm like, if I could watch a game, go to a hockey game and just sit next to Kevin Bieksa, I would bend his ear quite a bit. There would be a lot of, so what was that? What was he thinking? Because there's a lot of moments in the game where he was analyzing absolutely everything. And it may very well be that he played for Anaheim and he knows these guys really well. But it was fascinating to listen to him talk. Miller robbed Gauthier later on, and then there was a late Ducks power play, which didn't go anywhere. So you go into the second period, it's 1-1. Early on, Fowler gets a really good chance that Campbell stopped. The Leafs get a power play. They score on that one. It is Tavares scoring from Matthews and Hyman at 3:38. So John Tavares continues his recent string of good play. Matthews up to his second assist of the game. Miller then was being tested again as the Leafs had an amazing second period. Matthews was denied number 40 early on. The Ducks get a power play that they don't score on. Shortly after that's done and around the halfway mark of the game, a little past it, Matthews scores his 40th of the season from Tavares and Marner at 13:18. So for people who don't like the Leafs, I'm tired of hearing about the Leafs. Guess what? Matthews is on his way to 50 goals. You're going to hear a lot about Matthews. If you think you've heard a lot about him now, wait till he hits 50 as a Maple Leaf. And it's justified. That's the thing. While I complained 5 years ago about the amount of press that was being given to the Leafs when they were the worst team in the league, it is justified for Matthews to get whatever accolades he gets right now. Campbell stopped Ritchie, and Clifford crashed the net late, which caused kind of a little bit of a ruckus in front of the net. So third period. The Ducks pressed at 2 minutes. They're down 3-1, and they'd only scored 34 goals in the third period coming into tonight, which is the lowest number in the game. Of course, the Leafs, third period in their last game, weren't very good, but, this is Anaheim. Anaheim can't score. That's what's known about Anaheim. So the Leafs get a power play. They don't score on it. In fact, Jones gets a shorthanded goal off of a turnover. Janssen gave it away to Rowney. Rowney tips it to Jones. Jones gets the goal at 8:34 on the breakaway, shorthanded. And rough play by Janssen. I think Sandin was in there on that one as well. And so the Leafs call a timeout, which was smart. Very smart to call a timeout there. Where Sheldon Keefe's thinking, all right, this one's getting away from us. I got to close this down. The Ducks get a power play. On said power play, Henrique gets the goal. from Kasha and Terry at 12:47. So had to be frustrating for the Leafs at that stage, right? They're up 3-1 entering the third. It's 3-3. This has got to feel like the Florida game. Spezza would score from Kapanen and Muzzin at 16:33. All right, all you got to do is kill 3.5 minutes against the Ducks. The Ducks pull the goalie with 1:20 left. No worries. It's Grant. Grant gets the goal when there's 6-on-5 from Fowler and Getzlaf at 19:04. It's 4-4. So again, this game a microcosm of what the Leafs have been all year. Overtime. The Leafs get a power play with 1:04 left. I'm running out of room on the board. And then Tavares gets the power play goal from Marner and Matthews at 4:53. 6.9 seconds left in the game. And Tavares gets that power play goal. The Leafs escape with 2 points tonight. They win it 5-4 in overtime. They do pass Florida and go back into third in the division. Can't feel very confident, but they're in Montreal tomorrow with a chance to prove they're a little better than what was showing tonight. This has to be both good news. They win the game. That's fantastic. You get the 2 points. But again, they allow 3 goals in the third period against a team that doesn't score in the third. Miller saved 29 out of 34 in the loss. Campbell saved 26 out of 30 in the victory. I thought Campbell was good, but it wasn't that far off Hutchinson. He's good, not great. So 3 stars, Tavares, Matthews, and Henrique. And the biggest problem for the Leafs? Turnovers. Neutral zone and defensive turnovers. They have got to fix that. Shots were 10-7 in the first in favor of the Leafs, 18-7 Leafs in the second, and then 15-4 Anaheim in the third. Yep. And in overtime, all 4 shots belonged to the Leafs. Final shots 35 to 30 in favor of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And so that means that Miller saved 30 out of 35. Again, on the app, it's not always completely up to date. Power plays, Anaheim 1 for 3. The Leafs went 2 for 5. So the Leafs power play, fantastic. And we'll see what they do tomorrow in Montreal. Buffalo. All right, so if you're a Sabres fan, this game kind of is also for Buffalo what this season has been. They got a lead and then they made it hard on themselves, is what they did. Now, in the first period, there was an almost goal for the Rangers of 4.5 minutes, but the shots are 2 apiece through 7 minutes, and I thought it was important for Buffalo not to let the New York Rangers get any kind of momentum. The Rangers are a young team. They're a fast team. They're a team that really works on momentum. Just keep them as quiet as possible. Gergensen scores from Miller at 10:26. That's his 10th of the season. It's the second time in his career he's reached 10 goals in a season. I think his career high is 15, somewhere around there. Hutton then robbed Strome. Wouldn't be the last time he'd do that. And the game got kind of chippy near the end of the first. The Rangers were getting frustrated with the defense for the Buffalo Sabres. It was really effective in the first period. Second period, the shots were 2-0 for the Sabres at 4 minutes. And again, it was don't let them get any kind of momentum. Keep them out of the game. Keep the crowd out of the game. MSG was quiet. Low chance game, I thought, favored the Buffalo Sabres. The Sabres get a power play. Georgiev absolutely robbed Reinhart. I was very reminiscent of the goal last night for Vasilevsky that was fantastic against Pittsburgh. And then they reviewed it to see if the puck crossed the line. It didn't. It just didn't cross the line. It was a fantastic save by Georgiev. But Reinhart would get the goal. He gets a goal from Eichel and Vesey at 15-16. And then before the end of the period, Strome is denied again by Carter Hutton. So Hutton, very good game through 2 periods. And the Rangers frustrated. Early in the third, they get a power play. During said power play, Zibanejad with a very good chance that was denied by Hutton. I thought Zibanejad had a very good game. The Rangers were getting some near chances. So what I mean by that is almost on the net, shot blocks by Buffalo, plays where if they just hold on for another second, they get a better chance. Very, very close. But Buffalo was fortunate to that stage of the game. Hutton had been excellent because the shots at 9 minutes were 9-2 for the New York Rangers. Vesey would get a very important third goal from Eichel at 11:56. And it was important because for the Rangers, this is a team that hasn't got to 5 games above 500 all season. Hasn't happened. So it didn't happen tonight either. Notice I put it on the board, and as soon as I put that on the board, it's Zibanejad scoring from Panarin and Stahl at 17:07. So they pulled the goalie with 2 minutes and 8 seconds left. And again, because nothing comes easily for the Sabres, tonight proves it again, they take a penalty that makes it 6-on-4. Chris Kreider would score during that from Kakko and Zibanejad at 18:22. but that's as close as the New York Rangers get. They get to within a goal, and the Sabres hold on by the skin of their teeth. Hutton, 37 saves on 39 shots, was fantastic. The Rangers, Georgiev, 25 saves on 28 shots. He was pretty good too. Hutton, Eichel, and Zibanejad are your 3 stars. Shots were 6 apiece in the first, 16-10 in the second in favor of Buffalo, and then 23-6 for the Rangers in the third, as Buffalo just took a lot of that third period off. But they did get the insurance goal to make it 3-0. Final shots, 39-28 in favor of the New York Rangers. Power plays, Buffalo goes 0 for 1. Their power play continues to be an 0 for 1 for 2 for the New York Rangers, but the good news for Buffalo, it doesn't end up mattering in the end. But they're looking forward to getting Olofsson back. And for Buffalo, key victory. I'm still not seeing them as a playoff team, but for the Rangers, this is a devastating loss. The Rangers really need to go on a bit of a run here. I do wonder if a game like this might cause a GM to say, we're going to be selling. So I think we're getting closer to that for the Rangers, where they're just flat out selling, and they're realizing that the dream of the playoffs is just getting too far away from them. Next up, poor Jimmy Howard, right? I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks, but we are up to a ridiculous amount of games where Howard actually has played pretty well. Howard's numbers, if you look at them, go look them up, they're not great. But over the last few weeks, he's been pretty good. He just gets absolutely no support. So I thought it was worthy of note at the start of this game. Howard's in net, still seeking win number 3. 2 wins, 20 regulation losses for Howard coming into tonight. Oof. Columbus gets a power play. I thought it was a solid game, though, for the Wings at around 13 minutes. The shots were 7-5 at that stage for Columbus. Keep that in mind. They were 7-5. They were within 2 shots. That would not last. Neither team was generating shots. Hronik then tangled with Gerby and found out what everybody else finds out. Gerby might be 5'4", but he's got some spark. He's got something to his game. And he's already been told, apparently, by John Tortorella over the last day or two, I guess. Tortorella told him, you are not getting demoted to the American League again. You are with the team for the rest of the year. Congratulations to Gerby on that. Post was hit by Bjorkstrand and Fabry, it appeared. Now, it depends on the angle. Either the puck caught him below the belt, or it caught him in the breadbasket, as you call hitting a guy in the stomach. I thought it caught him in the stomach. The way they announced it, it caught him in the below the belt area. So I put up there Fabry nut block, because that's apparently what it was. But I'm not convinced that's where the hit was. It doesn't matter. It still looked really painful. Either way, it's going to hurt. It's a puck from an NHLer. So to start the second period, Bowie was not coming back from an injury he suffered in the first, and Fabry still was not on the ice. And I don't recall seeing him out there. But I don't recall seeing Detroit on the ice much in this game, because after that first period, it was all Columbus. It was really all Columbus. Columbus gets a power play, and then they got another. They didn't score on them, but what happened was Werenski would score from Foligno and Milano at 4:57. That another? Yeah, it's an extended delayed penalty. So 1 minute and 35 seconds of delayed penalty, and then they scored. During the delayed penalty, both teams made a full line change. So Detroit didn't touch the puck. Detroit wasn't happy because they felt that they had at least touched the puck and the referee should have blown the whistle. Remember, game way back, Carolina and Vancouver, the whistle gets blown because Vancouver touched the puck, but they didn't possess the puck. So a Carolina goal came off the board. Carolina wasn't happy. And here, that kind of felt like that in reverse, which was Detroit felt, hey, they should have blown the whistle. We touched the puck. And the ref's going, you didn't possess it, though. And Columbus gets that goal. Columbus, at that point, was up to triple the shots, more than triple the shots of the Detroit Red Wings. Power play then for Columbus before the end of the second. Going into the third, the storyline is Howard. It's poor Howard. The shots were ridiculous. 33-9 at the 1 minute and 58 second mark of the third period. That's overall, not just in the third. Overall. Let's be realistic here. The Wings then get a power play, and the shots after the power play were 42-11. So I put up here, Howard should sue. He's having a fantastic game, and his team just isn't, there's nothing. Now, they fought back a little bit after that. They pulled the goalie with 2 minutes and 5 seconds left, and they generated a shot here and there. But Boone Jenner would get the empty netter from Nyquist at 18:35. I was sure Nyquist would go down the ice and get the empty netter because he usually does, but Jenner gets it instead. And then they mentioned October 29th is the last time that Howard got a win. That's 18 straight starts without a win. He's up to 11th on the all-time list for goaltenders without a win. And they talked about he's the longest streak since Don Beaupre. At the end of his career with Toronto and previously with Ottawa, he went on a really long streak without a win. And now here's Howard. And now Beaupre at the end of his career, he was out of gas at that stage. Howard had a great game tonight. He really, really did. And he doesn't get on the 3 stars. So my honorary 3rd star of the night is Howard, because he was fantastic. 42 saves on 43 shots. Yeah. Merzlikins saves 16 for his 5th shutout. And Columbus fans will point out he is the first goalie to get 5 shutouts that quickly at a certain age. And, you know, he's played very well. I'm not going to lie. Merzlikins played well, but he only faced 16 shots. Howard saved 42 out of 43. I would think that Howard deserves to be on the 3 stars as well, especially with Werenski being number 1 and Foligno being number 2. I don't know that I'd have Foligno at number 2. I would have had Howard at number 2 and Merzlikins at number 3. But that's fine. So 2-0 victory for Columbus. They jump past the New York Islanders again. The Islanders, of course, with games in hand. Shots were 10-5 in the first in favor of Columbus. 21-4 in favor of Columbus in the second. 13-7 Columbus in the third. Final shots 44-16. Power plays, Detroit went 0 for 2. They didn't get a power play till the third. Power plays 0 for 4 for Columbus. And there you go. The Columbus Blue Jackets get a victory, and it's one of the easiest shutouts you're ever going to see a goaltender get. Really, in all honesty. Not to diminish Merzlikins, these 5 shutouts, he's been great. But Columbus, that defense in front of him, and the fact that, I don't know, I guess Detroit went into Buffalo last night, got that victory, and just went, no, we're good. And tonight they went back to getting shut out. It's what Detroit does. Just get shut out. All right. Moving along to the last game of the night. And Minnesota against Dallas. And this is another tough ending. Now, I'm not going to make a big deal of it, because I'm sure there will be Dallas Stars fans who make a big deal of it. But let's talk about this a little bit. Now, first period, there was an early save for Dubnyk. Dubnyk really needed a good game, and he had it tonight. And I'm convinced that no matter how this ended, Dubnyk was not allowing a third goal. There was a power play for the Stars, and it's noted that the Dallas Stars power play is now up to 15th in the National Hockey League. It's worthy of note because it was, 29th at one point? It was like 28th or 29th. It was garbage, and it's been pretty good. It really has. So the other thing I noticed while they were talking about that, lots of empty seats in Dallas. I have called out other cities for this. I have to say it with Dallas as well. In the lower bowl, there are a lot of empty seats recently, which is alarming considering the team's been pretty darn good. So it is game number 1,000 for Zach Parise, whose dad, J.P. Parise, played, and played a long time as a Minnesota North Star. So they had a very nice package for him at 1,000 games. They talked about J.P. Parise as well. I thought it was nice. He is the 14th player from the 2003 draft to play 1,000 games. That shows just how strong the 2003 draft has been. And there are other players in that draft class who could have hit 1,000 games if not for injuries that shortened their careers. So, absolutely, to me, the best draft class we've seen. Yes, there are recent draft classes that could rival it at some point, but for right now, that is the best draft class I've seen. Wide open first half to that period. A lot of shots, back and forth. And the game doesn't really stay that way, but the first half of that first period, there was a lot of shots. The Wild pressed at about 12 minutes. Dubnyk denied Radulov. Radulov's biggest test tonight would come from Gurianov. Pavelski would get a power play goal from Sagan and Klingberg at 15:28, but Sagan's career-long goalless drought reached I think it's 14 tonight, 14 or 15, and it's bad. He just doesn't have any confidence in his shot. There was then a double minor to the Wild, and Bruce Boudreau wasn't happy about it. I'm just gonna say he wasn't happy. There were some words he said that, if you can read lips, wasn't a happy camper. But second period starts, and Gurianov, just after a power play ends, scores from Heiskanen and Bishop at 2:51. Gurianov's 15th, which ties him for the team lead in goals, which shows that A, Gurianov's having a good year, and B, Dallas may not have a 20-goal scorer this year. It's going to be close. They might have a couple, but just barely 20 goals. The Wild then got a power play. They don't score on that, but Eriksson Ek would get a goal at 8:25. He bounces it off of, I believe, is a Dallas defender it bounced off of. Then Donato scores about 4 minutes later from Cunnin and Fiala at 12:09, and that quieted the crowd down quick. It went from a pretty raucous crowd, not a full crowd, but a pretty raucous one, to pretty darn quiet when it became 2-2 for Minnesota. Maybe some fans knew about that 7-0 loss that they tacked on the Stars not that long ago. There was a power play for the Wild. The Stars pushed in the last minute of that period. And then Perry and Greenway had what I thought was a fight at the buzzer, but they rule it to be roughing. So since it's roughing and not a fight, the period starts in the third with a 4-on-4, as they're both off for roughing. Radulov missing for the Stars. He played a bit after he collides with Gurianov, and it's the best hit I've seen Gurianov throw. I had to laugh at Twitter a little bit where people said, clean hit, Department of Player Safety won't get involved in this one. It's not a teammate, so of course not. But I still found it entertaining, even though as a Stars fan, I'm like, oh, that sucks. And yet, Radulov hasn't been playing great this year either, so I'm torn on how much that necessarily hurts things. He's been a hindrance at times this year. So I'm sure it was related to that collision that Radulov's out. We'll probably find out tomorrow what his issue is or something about it. The Wild pushed around the 6-minute mark, and it felt like both teams were playing for a point. It felt like both teams were kind of holding back a little bit, playing for a point. It wouldn't stay that way. The Stars got a power play, but Dubnyk was fantastic. Robbed Radek Faksa. Fox had a great chance, and Dubnyk absolutely flat out robbed him. Hintz had a break that was defended very well. It was Fiala that came back with him and defended him and knocked him down without taking a penalty, so it wasn't a trip or interference or anything. He took him out, took him down, and Hintz wasn't able to get a shot away. Cogliano also exited this game after a shot block. So for Dallas, the end of this game is problematic, but the amount of injuries they suffer is also problematic in this game. Eriksson Ek would score from Brodin and Greenway at 19:23, 37 seconds left. The more upsetting part of it is they were all in a scrum in the corner, and Sagan, as he's coming out, his stick is chopped in half. So a Wild player chops his stick in half. He's without a stick. He's not happy. He's clearly ticked off about it, and you understand why. You're supposed to call a penalty when a guy slashes your stick in half. The referee didn't see it. I can understand why the referee didn't see it, just from the amount of bodies that were in that corner. I get it. But while Sagan is irate, that puck goes in the net. And so on a wraparound, Eriksson Ek gets it. His stick was broken. It was slashed, but referee doesn't see it. You can't ask for a replay on that. You can't go back and go, oh, we should have called a penalty there. That goal's coming off the board. That's not in the replay rules. So Minnesota wins this one 3-2. Dallas called a timeout. It didn't matter. They pulled the goalie. It didn't matter. And like I said, I don't think Dubnyk would have allowed his third goal anyways, but I do think Dallas probably would have got to overtime because if Sagan has a stick there, if he's not distracted, and I don't know if he distracted his teammates. I don't know what happened there. But anyways, 3-2 is your final. Dubnyk, 31 saves on 33 shots for him. Bishop saves 28 out of 31. 3 stars are Eriksson Ek, Gurianov, and Parise in his 1,000th game. Power plays 0 for 2 for Minnesota, 1 for 6 for the Dallas Stars. The Minnesota Wild, I put that on the wrong side. The Minnesota Wild are 2 points out of the playoffs, and they have a game in hand on the Calgary Flames. And I also looked it up. They have more regulation wins than the Calgary Flames. So if they tie Calgary in record, they get the spot in the playoffs. Calgary doesn't. Shots 16-12 in the first in favor of Dallas, 9-8 Dallas in the second, 11-8 in favor of Minnesota in the third, and your final shots are 33-21 in favor of the home team, the Dallas Stars, who come out with the loss in regulation 3-2. That one hurts. They stay 1 point behind the Avalanche, and Nashville may very well want to thank Minnesota, even though they're both fighting for the same spots in the playoffs. So Minnesota, Nashville, and Winnipeg all bunching up and threatening to knock out Arizona and Calgary, or whoever's going to drop out from the Pacific Division. It definitely looks like the teams at the bottom of the Central are forcing their way up. That being said, and I guess I can include Chicago in that as well, right? All 4 of them. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below regarding tonight's games. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. It's been very popular this week, hitting the like and subscribe buttons, and I thank you guys for making those buttons popular again, because they were gathering dust last week when I was in California. But hey, thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.